All right, it's been a couple months since I first did the initial styling on this Portulacaria Afra, aka dwarf jade, and as you can see, it's really grown in. There's a lot of vigorous growth on the back of this tree. If you check out the first video that I did, you'll see that on each of these branches I left just one leaf set, and I tried to leave as many leaves as I could to stimulate back budding and additional growth. So I didn't cut all of the leaves off any of the branches, and in doing so, it created, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying, y'all. But by leaving a little bit of branches on each of these leaves, by leaving a little bit of leaves on each of these branches, it helped the tree stimulate new growth. So I'm just gonna go in and just do some simple growth management by trimming everything back to the first leaf set once again. So let me make sure that you can see this. And we will begin. If you remember from the first video, this tree was in a pot that I set on the ground, and I let the roots grow through the bottom of the pot and into the ground, which is what created this really thick trunk down here. If you want your trees to grow quickly, put them in the ground or put them in a pot on the ground and let the roots grow through. Or put them in a big pot. This growth is a little bit soft and fleshy, so I could wait a little bit longer before I trim it, but today's the day to do this. So on each of these branches, again, I'm going back to just about the first leaf set. On this one, I'm going to the second leaf set because maybe I'll want a little bit of growth there. But every one of these spots that I cut will split into two more branches and so on. So this is the process by which I get a thicker tree. I just keep pruning it back. And eventually, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and so on. And once I dig back into this tree, it may be that I find some growth that I really don't want anymore. But I left as many branches as I thought I might be working with during my initial styling in order to have options when I go in and start to really style this tree. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. So this down here, don't need that, so I'm cutting that off. A lot of growth from this, I cut like a really big branch right here. There's a lot of growth coming out of there right now. Oh, one thing that's really cool about Portulacaria Afra is you can eat it. It's sour. There's a lot of vitamin C in it. So if you're ever hungry out in the garden, you can have a little snack. I know you can't really see everything that I'm doing here, but I'm just making decisions. All of these spots that have like 3 branches growing off the same spot, I'm taking it back to 2. And again, each of these shoots, I'm taking it back to the first leaf set. Well, just about. Maybe the second leaf set in some cases. If I want it to be a little bit longer branch, before it starts to split into 2, then I'll let it grow a little longer before cutting it back. So I might do, 3-4 leaf sets, but in general, when I want to create density, I just go back to the first 2. I think I'll make pretty quick work out of this. And we are back working on this Portulacaria Afra that I did the initial trimming for about, I don't know, I want to say about 3, maybe 4 months ago. I will correct it when I create the video. But if you remember, I set this one on the ground and let the roots grow through the holes in the pot, and then did its initial styling. And it wasn't much, it wasn't a ready tree or anything like that, but I am now coming in and doing some additional pruning. I have pruned it, this will be the 3rd time I've pruned it. No, I think the 2nd time I've pruned it since the initial styling. So the first thing that I'm doing is just cutting off all of these upward growing shoots. I'm not really thinking too much about it. They're way too long and they're not needed, and I really want to understand what's going on inside of this tree, so getting rid of these upward growing shoots helps me be able to visualize what I'm going to be doing next in terms of styling. When I cut back, I am trimming to create 2s. So anytime there's a junction with 3 leaves, like right here, I've got, or 3 shoots, then I want to trim it back to 2. So I have 3 here and 3 here. So I'm going to also do some selection to take the tree back a little bit so I can make sure I don't get swelling or bar branches, which are both unappealing and they create that kind of unnatural swelling on a tree that creates that inverse taper. It's moving pretty quickly. I'm really not paying a lot of attention to what I'm doing. I'm just looking back to the 1st or 2nd leaf set and trimming there. And I know that that needs to be done in order to really see what I'm working with. I might grow some of these shoots out a little bit further, but that's really going to be like more of those lateral growing ones, because I might want to develop them as branches. For example, like this, I might let that grow longer. Not saying that I will, but that's kind of the decision-making process. Coming in, once again, trimming back trees to the 1st or 2nd leaf set, especially for those ones that are growing straight up and down. And it's important that you do this in a timely manner. Like I'm letting it grow out to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's like 11 leaf sets, 12 leaf sets. Sorry, you might hear some knocking over there. The neighbor's doing something. And if you don't trim back soon enough, what happens is you'll lose some of those bottom leaves, and then it'll get longer and longer and further away from the trunk. So trimming back, before it gets too far away from you is important. Right. Yeah, like this one, for example, you can see it's kind of lost its, it should have had another shoot going that way, but it dropped that one just because it was prioritizing some of this upward growth. Much better already, but definitely not the final design here. Really don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I've been thinking about chopping some of these major branches and turning it into a couple different trees, a couple smaller trees, but I haven't decided yet. I don't know if I want to keep this like just one singular big one that looks kind of interesting and more, I don't know, kind of like natural form in a way. Or if I want to create something that's more dense and compact, but we'll see. All right, top one's gone. And I don't know if I'm gonna make my final decisions today. I might just keep kind of letting it get more dense and then make decisions at another time. But every time I prune these single shoots, like if I prune right there, those two are gonna shoot off that direction. If I prune there, they're gonna shoot off that direction. And the more that you prune, you encourage kind of the direction that you want those shoots to go, but it also will create more branching, which creates more density on your tree. So the more branches you have, the more leaves you have, the more density you have. So each time I'm trimming here, those single shoots, they're gonna split into two. It's called bifurcation. All right, I am almost to a place where I can come in and start to make some decisions. I think I'm actually looking at the back of the tree. You all are looking at the front. Step back. All right, let's see. All right, I am now realizing this tree could probably turn like that. I think. Pull it back a little bit so you can see better. I think that's about right. Okay. One of the things I'm thinking about doing is getting rid of this super thick branch over here, because the diameter of this branch right here, which is the apex, you know, kind of moves up to the apex, is much thinner. This is really thick here. It kind of, you know, makes the tree look a little bit funky. If this tree were like lower, or if this branch were like lower, then I think the thickness on this would make sense, but it's growing up a little high. So what I might do is take it back to like here and maybe let this grow out. But let's see. An easy way to do that again is like the towel trick or the paper bag trick or plastic bag trick. Just kind of cover the spot up that you might want to cut and see what the tree looks like from there. I think that actually looks much better. And I have this branch in the back here that can fill that space in. Come on now. Don't use a ripped towel because it's going to catch on your branches. And if I cut this, I'm going to have a whole other tree. So that's one option. Another option is taking this whole top part off, like this whole thing, and making it its own tree and using 1, 2, 3, which could be an interesting shape. I don't know how much I like that either. Let's turn it around. I could also remove this branch here and then just focus on these up here. I actually might do that because this branch is kind of just sticks out randomly. It doesn't really add to the tree at this point. It really could, but again, it depends how I'm going to approach this. I'm going to sit and think about this for a few minutes and then come back to the video. So I think I've narrowed it down, folks. There are many options with this tree. I think I've decided what I'm going to do based on the most interesting design, and then something that really doesn't like fit my typical style. I think I want to do something different because I could see, you know, what I might do based on, you know, just kind of how I typically would style a tree. What I was thinking about doing is getting rid of this back branch here and this one down here and just growing this tree from here and then doing a separate tree from this one. So imagine none of this is here and it's just this. That still is really cool. I'm gonna stand back and see. So I'd lean it back a little bit and then this would be the new tree. Dang, that is really cool. Well, here we are back at drawing board. Or I could take this big one back here. Just kind of grow that out like that. That one is very interesting. I thought I made a decision, but I think what I'm going to do is I can still have this tree become a tree if I cut it back here. And I can get that really powerful base if I cut this off and this off. We're just going to do it. Here we go. Yeah, that's just so strong if I do that. I think I just have to. So here we go. And I'll get 3 trees out of this. Bro, was I just cutting right there too? Oh, I'm an idiot. Anyway, that'll be fine. If you were on the video, you're probably like, Zane's an idiot. He was just cutting right there as well. But that'll be fine. I just barely poked into it. But here's a tree. I'll go ahead and style this one up a little bit. Then I'm going to set it off to the side for now. That's what happens when you style a tree on camera. You're never fully focused. You're kind of thinking about the camera. I've made a couple mistakes while filming. You're not being totally mindful. You're trying to, you know, get the best shot for the audience. But anyway, it's fine. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this one off as well. So you can see this branch down here. And with doing this, this is going to make this tree, again, so much stronger. Wow. Yeah, so there's a little tree as well. But look at that. That's a very powerful start to this tree. Let's see if I can shift the planting angle just slightly. It's kind of wired into this pot a little bit. It's fine. There we go. It's got aluminum wire, so it'll stretch. Okay. So now what I want to do is take each of these back to the first leaf set to really start to prioritize the creating dense ramification. Let's see. And anywhere I have like 3 instead of 2, I'm going to go ahead and trim back. Peek in there. This one on the front I can take off. That one right in the crotch I can take off. Some of these have like 3s up here. So again, I'm removing some of those. I'm going to remove that because that's 2 right there. And what I'll eventually do is I can cut this back a little to make it more narrow. I think I can actually do that now. Just got to be careful with my sawing. Totally messed up earlier. It really didn't do much. All it did was just kind of poke into that spot. Let's see. So how this tree will go, this is the main branch here, then I'll develop this branch here, and then the apex, so it'll kind of be just like a, almost like a broom or informal upright style. Probably will be very broom for a while until it gets older, and then I'll turn it into an informal upright. But that was a big move for this tree. I think it will be, again, a much more powerful design as it starts to grow out, but you know, sometimes you got to make big decisions. I could have done 5 different things there, but what I realized is by doing this and then having that other piece, I still have that other piece as a tree. I have this piece as a tree. And then this one, again, I have a lot more, I have a better structure. Like the bones are better on this tree to be able to build something that's, I don't know, it'll just be easier to work on this tree. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Because I'm kind of building it from its base once again. So it'll either be this as the front, but I also might make this the front as these start to heal over, because it actually, this is kind of a natural back branch over here. So it's creating some depth here, and then the front of the tree, yeah, this might be a good front because this branch is leaning toward me, and this is, these branches are all leaning toward you. So let me go ahead and change the planting angle again. I'm not too worried about shifting this thing in its pot. It's summer, it's hot. It's totally fine. Yeah, this could actually be the front, what you're looking at right now. Putting that soil in place to hold the tree real quick. There we go. I don't know, either side. It really depends how this starts to respond and develop, but I could make, yeah, either side of this the front. Take that down a little bit. So, and the more I trim back, it's going to encourage back budding lower down on the tree. So this side is going to get some energy by pulling, you know, all these other branches off. It's going to start to push energy down into other parts of the tree. It's kind of like, you know, if you have a network of hoses, then, you know, if you plug up one of the hoses, it sends the water pressure to everywhere else. So this is just sending the growing energy elsewhere. It's just energy management, redirecting resources. So it doesn't hurt the tree. The tree just wants to live, wants to do its thing, so that's what it's going to do. This right here, I have a 3. Let me see what I want to do. So this is like an interesting kind of thing to look at. There's 3 right here, but I want to push it out a little bit that way. And I don't want branches like being at like a 180-degree angle, so I'm just gonna take it down to 2 and have them pointing that direction. All right, so this is just about it. I'm not gonna do too much more. When I turn the video off, I might do some detail work. Again, it's harder to get all the details right when you're filming. But that's gonna be a really cool tree at some point. Again, just such a powerful base. If you look at that, it's, you know, I can barely fit my hand around it. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this back on the bench. So to plant something like this, you want to have a heavier pot. This might actually be too narrow. No, that should be okay. Yeah, you want to have a heavier pot so it doesn't tip over, because it's going to be top heavy. And then I'm just going to fill it up with some recycled bonsai soil. And this will help it stay nice and dry and then develop a fine root structure. Give it a little bit more in there. And then I'm just gonna go set it on the ground. So I like to pick a spot that's a little bit sunny. It's not gonna get too moist. It's gonna let it dry out nicely. But I want it to be on the ground because it'll tend to respond better if I just kind of set it on the ground. Next one. This one I'm using a little bit lighter pot. And I'm just gonna stick it in again, and then go put it on the ground. Those 2 trees should root in about a month, I would say. They'll start popping roots pretty quick, but I'd say they'll be nicely rooted in about a month, but I'm not gonna disturb them for quite a while. Again, let's show you the final tree. I think that was a really good choice on my part to make it, again, just this kind of more powerful, almost like informal upright or broom style design, whatever it's going to be in the end. But really well done, I think. Anyway, thanks for watching. Most importantly, don't forget to water.